there's one thing I love possibly even more than reading, it's tracking the books I read. Oh, the endorphins I get from adding a book to my TBR, logging my daily pages, and best of all, marking a book as finished. Now, when I talk about tracking books, what comes to mind for you? If you're like 125 million people around the world, you're probably thinking of Goodreads.
Ew!
You may have gathered that I am anti-Goodreads. In this video, I'm going to explain why and offer an alternative that I think is far superior. Before I get too deep into the rabbit hole of my anti-Goodreads rhetoric, I want to stress something. I completely understand being attached to Goodreads. I know people in their 20s who have been consistently using the platform since they were in their early teens. If your entire reading history is on there, it's not going to be easy to just abandon it. If that's you, please don't take my passionate criticism personally. There is truly enough going on without you feeling any type of way about where you track your books. So definitely just do what works best for you. But you might be interested to know that there is a solution to this problem, which I'll get to at the end. Now, with that out of the way, let's bash on Goodreads. My initial wish to leave the platform back in 2023 was prompted by one key piece of information. Goodreads belongs to Amazon, which means it belongs to Jeff Bezos. Which means it puts money directly into the pocket of one of the greediest, most unethical billionaires on the planet, earning literally millions of dollars per hour. So I cast about for an alternative. And as soon as my sights landed on the Storygraph, I knew I didn't need to look any further. Co-founded by Nadia Odunayo and Rob Freelo, the Storygraph is Black-owned and woman-owned. But that's not the only thing I love about it. See, despite being backed by one of the richest freaking companies on earth, Goodreads hasn't really offered anything new since I started using it back in high school. The Storygraph, on the other hand, is always innovating and testing new features. And what makes it so appealing is its beautiful stat visualizations. You get beautiful graphs showing the moods you're most attracted to reading, the breakdown of pages you read most commonly, fiction versus nonfiction, your favorite genres and formats, and so much more. As a big fan of audiobooks, for example, I love how it differentiates audiobook stats, showing minutes listened. Now, I do have to point out a few flaws of the Storygraph because I am an unbiased journalist. Not really. First of all, I think it has quite a bit of a less community-focused feel than Goodreads, but I feel like that has a lot to do with the fact that there are just so many more people using Goodreads. And like I said, there is constant innovation on this app, so that may very well change. Besides, have you ever seen the Goodreads Choice Awards nominees and winners? I simply don't trust the Goodreads community to give me good book recommendations. Second of all, because Storygraph is still a baby, it was only founded back in 2019, you might come across books now and then that look a little janky. Sometimes a lot janky. But this is kind of a non-issue, because if you submit a ticket, it will be resolved in like a day. You know how? Because Storygraph is supported by a dedicated team of volunteer librarians who resolve user issues simply out of their passion and enthusiasm for books. Now that's a community I can get behind. In fact, I am a Storygraph librarian. Surprise! My husband Sean felt I had to mention that both Goodreads and Storygraph have a not great user interface. And to an extent, I do agree there is some room for improvement. But to a much larger extent, I love using Storygraph. I find the buttons and layout very satisfying. I like how on your profile you get different displays of your 5-star reads. How your to-read pile on your homepage cycles through different books so you can be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. And just be reminded of all the amazing books that you want to read. How you can tag books with whatever you like. How you can mark books as owned. And much more. So, sorry Sean, when it comes to user interface, Storygraph wins. You lose. To conclude, here's a breakdown of why I think the Storygraph is so superior to Goodreads. 1. Black owned versus owned by Jeff Bezos. 2. Satisfying stat visualizations versus nothing as far as I know. 3. More opportunities to customize your tracking versus surface level permissions. 4. Passionate volunteer librarians versus corporate drones. And 5. Cute-ish user interface versus ugly, outdated layout.
Etc. and etc.
Now, are you a longtime Goodreads user wishing you could switch to the story graph after everything you've heard, but feeling stuck? Never fear. The story graph has an amazing feature that lets you export all your Goodreads data to the platform. Unfortunately, it doesn't always do this perfectly for various reasons, so you might need to spend a little bit of time going through the data and cleaning it up. For me, that is an extremely fun activity, but I can understand if it doesn't appeal to everyone. The option is there if you want it, though. It's what I did, and I haven't looked back since. So bookworms, there you have it. Goodreads sucks. Storygraph rocks. And if you come on over, you'll be doing your small part to boycott one of the supervillains of our storyline. Sign me up. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy reading and happy tracking. Bye!